Welcome to your February recipe. Today we're going to make blueberry cheesecake brownies. To start these brownies, you want to start with your blueberry topping because that has to cool in the fridge. So, for that, we have frozen blueberries, granulated sugar, and a little bit of lemon juice. You want to bring those to a boil on your stove and then stir constantly just until it starts to thicken. Once it's ready, go ahead and put it into a separate bowl and stick it in the fridge. While that's chilling, we can make our brownie batter. Now this brownie batter is so good. It's made with real chocolate chips and melted butter. Take your chocolate chips and your butter and melt them slowly in the microwave. I always do 2 minutes on power 50. Give it a stir and then 2 more minutes. Always on power 50. Now that this is beautifully melted, we can go ahead and add our granulated sugar and stir that all together just until smooth. I have made sure that my chocolate and my butter have cooled just to room temperature because the next thing we're going to add are eggs, and we don't want to cook our eggs. Now that that's nice and smooth, I have my room temperature eggs here. And I always crack them into a separate bowl. That way I can guarantee that they're not going to have any shell. And you never know if you'll get a bad egg. I think in my 13 years of being a pastry chef, I have probably only had one bad egg. But it just takes one to ruin the whole bunch. It is important to, again, always have it at room temperature because we don't want cold eggs to make this butter and chocolate cold. Because then it'll seize up and become chunky. Add all the eggs. You can kind of break up the yolks with your spatula and then start to stir them all in. This is when it makes a not so pleasant noise. It's important to not overmix these because that's when you get really cakey and over spongy brownies. Some people like that, but I want these to be nice and fudgy. Now that I can't tell the difference between chocolate and eggs, we're going to take all of our dry ingredients. We have just all-purpose flour, baking powder, and salt, and then I have a sieve, and that's so I can make sure there aren't large chunks of flour. This is the prettiest part. Now I have coarse sea salt, so I'm going to dump that in because it doesn't fit through the sieve holes. So let's go ahead and just gently fold in all of that dry. It looks beautifully smooth. We're going to now add these mini chocolate chips. I love these little guys. You can actually just find a bag of these at Aldi for pretty cheap. And this is just to make it even more chocolate. I do about a cup of these. So it's about half the bag. And just stir them in. I could just eat this batter with a spoon. It smells so good. Now that it's all nice and mixed, we have a lined 9x13 tray. Let's go ahead and scoop it all in there. And then take the back of your spatula and evenly spread it out. Making sure to tuck it into the corners. Of course, these would be delicious brownies all by themselves, just like this. But we're going to make a cheesecake topping and then stir in our blueberries to make our blueberry cheesecake brownies. So set this aside and let's make the cheesecake topping. For the cheesecake layer, I like to bust out my mixer, and that's just because we want to make sure that we beat this cream cheese until it's super duper smooth, because it's really hard to make sure it's not chunky if you do it by hand. So we have room temperature cream cheese, granulated sugar, and we're going to go ahead and just beat this for about 5 minutes. Ready? Go. This looks nice and soft and smooth. Scrape it all off of the sides and off of that paddle. And now we can add our egg. So again, make sure that you crack it into a bowl. Whoop. Go ahead and dump it in. If you have that lemon that you use the lemon juice for the blueberry topping, you can go ahead and zest it and add some zest in at this point as well. let's take this off of the mixer, clean off the paddle. Fingers work better than spatulas. Alright, one last little stir. Now let's grab our blueberry stuff out of the fridge. Alright, we have our blueberry topping, and it has jammed up nicely. Blueberries have a lot of natural pectin, so we didn't have to put any kind of cornstarch or anything in there to thicken it. They do it just on their own. So we're going to pour this cheesecake topping right onto our brownie layer, but leaving about a third of it in this bowl. Here's my favorite tool, as always, my little offset. I'm going to just spread this evenly across the top, just to make sure everybody gets a little cheesecake in their brownie. We're going to take about half of this mixture and add it to our cheesecake to make it a beautiful purple blue color. Now you take this and pour it all around. Now we're going to take a knife, just a plain old butter knife, and we're going to start swirling. So go ahead and just grab some of the white part, wiggle it into the purple part, back and forth, all around. I think I got a little more purple than white today. Now, before you stick this into your 350-degree oven, you want to top it with some aluminum foil. And that's because if you don't, it's going to get pretty brown and ruin the beautiful color that we have on these brownies. We're going to bake these just until they jiggle a little bit. Here we go. Now you see we have leftover blueberries. That could be used as a topping for when you serve these, or you could just save this for the next time you're going to make the brownies. So stick it in a freezer-safe container and into the freezer for about 3 months at the most, and enjoy again. Okay. These smell so good. Alright, you can tell that they're done when they just jiggle a little bit, like Jell-O. They're nice and set, and the aluminum foil kept the heat from making these too brown, so they're still beautifully purple and white. Now you just have to wait a few hours for these to cool, and then pop them out and slice them up. I'm going to put them in the fridge overnight, and I'll eat them tomorrow. That's it. I guess I'll see you guys next month. What is next month? March. March! I'll see you guys in March. Then.